on military target. Is that too hard to say? Can you hide the bloodlust just a little bit?
Back with the Fox News Alert, Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Inks just speaking with President Trump and has the latest from Tel Aviv. Trey, what can you tell us and what did the president have to say?
Yeah, guys, good morning. I just spoke with President Trump for about 20 minutes, and he told me if Iran does not sign this deal, the whole country is getting blown up. He went on to say that bridges and power plants will be targeted if Iran does not sign this agreement. The president,
and depending on who that affects more, if it affects the citizens more, then that's a war crime. If it affects the IRGC more, then it's a valid military target. So, I mean, depending on what power plants he strike, he might be committing war crimes out here. And hopefully he's not. But then again, who's going to check us?
Telling me that U.S. Special Envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are heading to Islamabad, Pakistan for meetings on Tuesday, possibly into Wednesday, to try and get this agreement across the finish line. The president telling Fox News this is a very simple deal, but this is the last chance for the Iranians. The president very clear in our conversation that he is not making the same mistake that President Obama made, giving cash to the Iranians.
So AKA, I told you the Iranians are pretty much sticking their toes in the sand when it comes to this whole, we want our frozen assets back. And here's the thing, if Trump was to give back $20 billion, bro, that's way more than Obama gave back. Like, bro, we'd have I mean, real with you, the Dems are gonna have a field day with that. Like, yeah, the president who gave Iran the most money, it would be Trump if he was to commit to that deal. And I don't think he's going to do it, even though it's the smartest idea. And if we actually care about, getting to their nuclear enrichment without fighting, then we would take that deal. But it don't seem like we don't care that much and we're willing to put boots on the ground over it. So we'll see. Hopefully not, but it's looking like we're going in that direction, guys. Oh, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get to 200 likes. And if you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, make sure to super chat it in. You could also Venmo it in. Appreciate the support, guys, or you can send a gift like my two guys down there.
And allowing them to continue a nuclear program. The deal on the table is to reopen the Strait of Hormuz to ensure that the Iranians do not have this highly enriched uranium that is buried deep underground after Operation Midnight Hammer last summer. And again, the president telling Fox News that the entire country will be blown up. Bridges and power plants will be targeted if the Iranians do not sign this agreement. This is a significant development because we are in this less than 72-hour window before the ceasefire between the United States and Iran expires. And the president has given the Iranians an opportunity for an off-ramp, an olive branch. He is extending to the Iranian regime to avoid this region going back into war. And the president said the United States military is prepared. He said the U.S. has massive amounts of ammunition, even better munitions than they had in the opening days of Operation Epic Fury.
Here's the thing. Iran doesn't care. They don't care because they know none of that matters until you put boots on the ground. If you want to get that nuclear enrichment, if you want to cause regime change, Iran knows. I mean, trust me, the U.S. general knows, and I'm pretty sure all of us knows by now, you have to put boots on the ground. So, yeah, it does seem like he's gathering up all these forces to do exactly that. I mean, even the force we've got gathered up now to put a boots on the ground operation, I honestly don't think we have enough, but we'll see, guys. We'll see. Like I said, I really hope we're not going in that direction, but diplomatic means do seem to be falling apart right before our eyes.
Use against the Iranian regime to target a variety of different positions across their country if they are not willing to make this good faith deal. And again, he tells Fox News that his special envoys are headed to the Middle East and they are going to try and get this deal across the finish line. But this is in the hands of the Iranians if they are willing to make a good faith agreement. And if they are not, the president has indicated there will be significant strikes against the Iranian regime in response if this diplomatic effort does not succeed. Guys.
Trey, in your conversation with the president, it hasn't been talked much about lately, but there has been focus on Karg Island because of its strategic proximity to 90% of crude oil goes through there. Did the president raise, I know he's talked to you about bridges and power plants, but what about the oil infrastructure?
The president talked about the Strait of Hormuz and these violations of the ceasefire that were conducted by the Iranians yesterday. President Trump telling me about how they're using these small vessels to fire on ships in the Strait of Hormuz, but they're just using small ammunition and despite the fact that they're not doing much damage, it's an indication that they are violating the ceasefire. And then the question is, well, why are they not doing much damage? And that is because more than 150 Iranian vessels are currently at the bottom of the sea. During Operation Epic Fury, the United States hammered the Iranian Navy, and they had prepared for a possible confrontation with the United States, but not enough, because the U.S. was so successful in these strikes that much of the Navy vessels the Iranians had prepared were not able to be used. And that is the reason that they have to use these smaller vessels to threaten international shipping lanes. And again, this
I mean, hey, at least they're admitting that they still got those speedboats. Like I've been telling you guys, it's funny. I've been telling people that they have these speedboats that are damn near drone kamikaze, they're kamikaze drone speedboats, and everybody's like, no, we destroyed their navy. Yeah, well, I mean, 90% of it, we destroyed all the big boats, so that's nice. But those little small speedboats, drone boats, nah, those are still a problem.
Speaks to the success of Operation Epic Fury and just the inability of the Iranian regime to even respond and to violate the ceasefire in this manner. And so that is one of the key pillars of this broader agreement that President Trump is demanding the Iranian regime sign. They are going to keep open the Strait of Hormuz. They are going to release that highly enriched uranium that is buried deep underground in the aftermath of those U.S. strikes last summer. And they're going to stop threatening U.S. forces across the region. The president tells me, or the Iranians are going to pay a heavy price. And that price is going to come at their power plants, their bridges, and the remaining infrastructure belonging to the Iranian regime. The president said right now there is a divide between the hardliners and the more moderates within the Iranian political leadership that remains. Remember, in the opening strikes of Operation Epic Fury, the United States and Israel took out the command structure of the Iranian regime. Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, was taken out in an airstrike along with his top advisors. The Iranians were in disarray in these moments after Operation Epic Fury began because they were hit even harder than anyone in the region believed they were going to be hit. And again,
I mean, look, we get it. Y'all hit him hard, but they were still able to fire back into Israel successfully. They were still able to hit our bases in the Gulf region successfully, destroyed some of them successfully. So I'm sorry, but bragging about, oh, yeah, we hit them so hard. Oh, yeah, we did. But they were still able to strike back and cause significant damage and close the Strait of Hormuz, which is causing economic damage. So I know y'all, I know like Foxes want to sit here and be like, oh, Operation Epic Fury was like the best thing ever. The all campaign was so amazing. Yeah, but what results are we getting here? Because we still don't got their nuclear enrichment under control. There has been no regime change. So let's keep it real. And the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. I mean, no goals have been completed, guys.
And this speaks to the inability of the Iranians to not only defend their top leaders, but also defend their military structure. When we think about the threat Iran posed before Operation Epic Fury began, they were basically trying to get a nuclear weapon. They told
guys, make sure to super chat or Venmo in any question, comments, or disagreements that you have. Appreciate the support. Oh, yeah. And like I said, you can send it in on Venmo, which would be a lot easier. I think you can send $1 and be able to get what you said read out loud. But other than that, make sure we're double tapping the screen, liking the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, guys. We do this every day. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's get right back into it.
Negotiators, they had enough highly enriched uranium for 11 nuclear bombs. And this was an indication to President Trump something had to be done to stop this regime from obtaining a nuclear weapon. But remember, you have this threat from the Iranians that also includes ballistic missiles and drones. And as part of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump ordered strikes against the production facilities of the Iranian regime, hammering their ballistic missile production centers and the drone centers that were used to target U.S. forces and allies across the Middle East. And now President Trump tells me that bridges and power plants are back on the target list for the United States. And if Iran...
I'm sorry, this is literally what kills me. Like I said, if it was about Iran never having a nuclear weapon, well, they had a religious law that said having a nuclear weapon is a sin against God. And we take these guys as religious zealots. So, I mean, bro, they're religious zealots you're right about that. So trust me, the Ayatollah come out saying that nuke is a sin against God. They're not going to make a nuke. But they will. But here's the thing, though. We don't even know if we still have that religious fatwa because that was under the old Ayatollah that we blew up. So hopefully his son got the same mindset. I don't know because we blew up his dad, his mom, and his daughter. So, I mean, I don't know if he's coming in with any type of rational thought, to be real with you guys. So we're going to see what happens with that. But in all actuality, if this was about Iran not having a nuclear weapon, we should have just stayed in the JCPOA to have watchful eyes over their nuclear enrichment program. Like if that was it, if this was all we were worried about. But that doesn't seem to be the case, because every time Iran has been ready to give up their enrichment program, ready to give up their stockpile, sorry guys, pretty much the U.S. turns around and moves the goalposts. Whoops.
Does not sign this agreement in Islamabad this coming week, the president will order strikes, he tells me, against power plants and bridges inside of Iran. This will be a major escalation. But the president told me, and he is expected, we also learned in that conversation, to release basically a letter today to the Iranians with this tough talk, letting them know what is at risk for their regime if they do not make a good faith agreement. The president told me this tough talk is the only thing the Iranians understand. They don't understand the traditional diplomacy and dialogue of the region. They understand firepower, the firepower that belongs to the United States military. And President Trump, again, told me they have massive amounts of ammunition prepared. If the Iranians are not willing to make that good faith agreement, they're going to hammer the regime, targeting those bridges, power plants.
And I'm sorry, but if you think that we can get an unconditional surrender out of Iran, I mean, you obviously haven't been paying attention for the past month or so. If you honestly think that we can get a ceasefire out of, I mean, no, my bad, not a ceasefire, but an unconditional surrender where they just give up everything, yeah, you obviously haven't been paying attention. I mean, unless you're ready to use a nuke or put in ground troops, yeah, you haven't been paying attention, my friend. No, there's think about like this. You should already be catching on that is not the case here, or that's unlikely, due to the fact that we walked into negotiations with maximalist demands and they still walked away, and still showing that they had the power to close down the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, you should know there was going to be no unconditional surrender when they still have cars like that. Like, let's be real here.
And what is left of the IRGC military infrastructure. Guys?
Trey, you were on our show in an earlier hour before this phone call with the president, and you and I discussed this regime. You say that there's a faction, perhaps a more moderate versus...
And those of you who are foolish enough to actually think that, oh, well, that's what Japan said. Actually, no, Japan gave up because the Soviet Union was pretty much had ground forces in Japan. So sorry, no, it wasn't us nuking Japan that got them to surrender. It was actually the Soviet Union pressure as well. AKA goes to prove that you can't airstrike people into submission. You got to put boots on the ground. And that proved as well in Japan situation as well. Look your history up, my man.
More radical wing of this regime. We don't know which one is in charge. Maybe you do. Maybe you can let us know. But if the more radical wing is in charge, per our discussion earlier, then that means they're crazy. And that means that this letter and this escalation may not have the results that we want, because they don't care. They're just like, fine, let it all go. This is existential. If, we're going to lose, so let's all just die and go to heaven, I guess, or hell. Did you discuss that with the president in terms of the mental state and the outcomes that
guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. We got about 1,200 y'all in here, man. Do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video. And if you have any question, comments, jokes, or disagreements, you can Venmo it in, or you can super chat it in. Venmo is cheaper because you can do it for $1. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going.
And the radical wing want.
Yes, and I can tell you, having talked to the president multiple times throughout this war and prior to this conflict, the president understands exactly who he's dealing with here. These are not traditional negotiators on the other side of the table. This is not a traditional regime. Even on our call today, President Trump brought up the protesters who were slaughtered in the streets of their country earlier this year. And the president multiple times said he would be there for them. And he targeted, actually, during Operation Epic Fury, many of the...
no, we were there for them. I mean, through the CIA and the Mossad. We was handing out protesters. We giving protesters guns to take on their government, to overthrow it, and it failed. And a whole bunch of protesters got shot by protesters that we gave guns and the police. So yeah, I'm be real with you. And now since that, attempt of a revolution failed, these people are being executed in the street. I mean, and then here Trump comes with, I want to end the civilization. So let's be real. We kind of left those people out to dry. We put a target on their back, and now we're threatening to bomb their entire civilization to death. I mean, really, guys? Do you still believe we're there for the Iranian people? I thought that propaganda would have left y'all mind by now, but okay.
Force commanders and those responsible for the crackdown against Iranian demonstrators who were peacefully protesting in the streets of their country. But again, I think the fact the president continues to bring this up, he understands two things. He understands the Iranian population, more than 90 million people, and many of them are quietly supporting what President Trump is doing, pressuring a repressive regime that spent 47 years cracking down on their own people. But he also understands the negotiators, and he understands the break in who's actually calling the shots here. And it's a great question because even the Iranians are not clear on who is calling the shots. And while you have this divide between the hardliners and the more moderates, even the Iranians can't agree on their own position. We heard Iran's foreign minister late last week saying the Strait of Hormuz is open, and then IRGC commanders saying it's closed. And then,
yeah, bro, are you serious, dog? All right, but now y'all just playing stupid. So you're pretty much the reason why they closed is because we didn't remove our naval blockade. Y'all just got done admitting that. Now you're trying to spin it as, oh, there's conflicts inside the regime. They don't know what they're doing. No, they know exactly what they're doing. They say, yo, if you don't remove that blockade, we're going to close the strait. Like, are you serious, dude? Of course they were going to do that. We're pretty much saying we'll let everybody go through but them. Even the foreign minister would agree that's unacceptable. What do you think was going to happen? I'm sorry, but to sit there and try to spin this to the American people as if there's some type of like friction in the regime, maybe, but this situation right here does not say that. All this says is that Iran stayed true to their word. They said, if you don't remove that blockade, we'll close the strait. And it still shows that Iran still has the power and the cards to close the strait.
Yesterday, firing on these vessels trying to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. And again, this speaks to the successful U.S. strikes against the regime and the command structure of the IRGC. But as it relates to who is at the negotiating table now, the takeaways that I had from this 20-minute call with President Trump were quite clear. It doesn't matter to President Trump who is calling the shots in Iran right now. What matters is that they signed this agreement. And the president said if they do not sign the agreement, he is going to target Iranian power plants and bridges. He is going to increase the strikes against the IRGC and go after the core that remains within Iran. Because he told me this is a very simple agreement. It can be done in 10 minutes. They know what is on the table. All they have to do is sign the dotted line. And so far, they've been unwilling to do so. And that is why President Trump told me that on Tuesday, U.S. Special Envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are headed back to the Middle East to try and get this deal across the finish line. And remember what we are looking at here. Now we understand. After this conversation with President Trump, I can tell you very clearly, we are looking at option A or option B. Option A is that the Iranians come to the table on Tuesday and they sign a good faith agreement that never allows them to have a nuclear weapon, that makes sure they give up their enriched uranium.
Yeah, but they're not going to do it for no reason. Like, they're going to do it only if we give them their assets back. They're not just going to do it because we're bombing them to hell. I mean, like I said, we're bombing them to hell and we can't even get them to open the Strait of Hormuz. Like, and that's way smaller than giving up their enriched uranium. So I'm sorry, but like, what are you saying, bro?
It ensures that
I understand you got to spin it, but you're trying a little too hard right now.
Open the Strait of Hormuz. Option B is that their power plants and bridges are going to be destroyed by the U.S. military, the strongest military in the world. And so they have a decision to make. And the president was very clear just before we got off the call. He told me Iran has a decision to make. And the decision is either going to be an off-ramp that saves the lives of the leadership and the infrastructure of the country, or the alternative. And the president told me he is prepared for both options. And again, he is sending his negotiating team for one final effort to try and get this deal across the finish line. But the president was very clear. He told me if they do not sign this deal, the whole country is going to get blown up.
Trades, Lucas, great reporting. Vice President Vance led the negotiations last weekend.
Now, like I said, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody's not taking it as seriously as we were at the end of a civilization tweet, because, like, let's be real, Trump has done this before, says something completely wild, pretty much threatening to take out an entire civilization, and then walks it back. So we'll see if he's serious this time. Hopefully he's not. Hopefully he's not. I mean, or maybe, just maybe, this could work. Iran fall to their knees and they just give up everything and they give us everything we ever wanted plus more, which I'm hoping for, but it's unlikely.
in Islamabad. He is not going on this trip to Islamabad. Why do you think that is?
It's a great point, and I do want to just read something to you right here as we are talking. The president has now posted on Truth Social about exactly what he told me during that conversation. He says, in part, Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz, a total violation of our ceasefire agreement. Many of them were aimed at a French ship and a freighter from the United Kingdom. The president goes on to say, that wasn't nice, was it? My representatives are going to Islamabad, Pakistan, confirming what he told me on the phone earlier. They will be there tomorrow evening for negotiations. Iran recently announced that they were closing the strait, which is strange because our blockade has already closed it. The president goes on to say in his post, they're helping us without knowing.
Yeah, but now it's closed to everybody, not just Iran. The problem with the naval blockade is that they wanted to have it to where it was open to everybody but Iran. And it's kind of crazy how we even thought that Iran was going to accept that. It's like we keep trying to pretty much, I guess, show dominance, show that we have this dominance over Iran, and it keeps on blowing up in our face. Like, we try to show dominance with this. If Iran was to let us do this, it would show that, yeah, we are low-key dominating them. They are begging for a ceasefire, because look what they're letting us do. They're letting us lock them down, letting other ships pass. That would show we're dominating them in the field in every way, shape, or form, and they have no cards. But when they're able to sit there and actually close the strait down everybody else with no fear of our retaliation, because they know we're going to retaliate, so they did it knowing that and not giving a damn, that shows that they kind of have some cards to play still.
And they are the ones that lose with the closed passage, $500 million a day. Now, it's a very long post on Truth Social.
$1 billion a day on this
pull it
war.
up here, but the president later says no more Mr. Nice Guy. They will come down fast. He's talking about the bridges and power plants. And again, that is what I gathered from my conversation.
Oh, guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen, and that's how you push the channel. Oh, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already by hitting that icon above. Appreciate the support. And if you have any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements, you can go ahead and Venmo it in, super chat it in, or just send a gift. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going.
With the president, that he is not playing games here. He is not bluffing. He is going to hammer the Iranian regime if they do not sign on the dotted line. The choice is theirs in the days ahead.
Can you respond to? I know the Truth Social came out and we didn't get an answer to the question of why you think J.D. Vance is not included in this negotiation team.
He tried.
The short answer is we understand that the vice president is still directly involved in these conversations and consultations. The president just yesterday at the White House held a situational assessment in the Situation Room, gathering top cabinet officials, whether it was the Joint Chiefs Chairman, the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, the vice president, and others. And we understand that U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff was involved as well in that conversation. And so this is a full court press by the Trump administration. A variety of officials are involved at many different levels. The United States is preparing not just on the diplomatic front, but also on the military front. And as the president has made clear on Truth Social and in our call earlier today, he is prepared for a variety of outcomes. But we are looking at two outcomes here, either a diplomatic solution or military action.
Big decision. Trey Ying's
Great stuff,
great
Trey.
reporting out of Tel Aviv.
All right, let's see what they're saying over here at NewsNation. You know, I'm just bringing it up as the news is rolling out, guys. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, man, because, hey, I do it live, and I try to catch the news as it's rolling in. Oh, and support the show with a super chat, Venmo, or gift. All right, let's get right back to it, guys. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let's get right into it with NewsNation.
Welcome back, everyone. We're about 5:30 on the Sunday morning, and we continue to follow that breaking news in the Middle East. New comments from President Trump moments ago on Truth Social, calling Iran's firings on multiple ships in the Strait of Hormuz a, quote, total violation of our ceasefire agreement. This is what he wrote in part. Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz, a total violation of our ceasefire agreement. Many of them aimed at a French ship and a freighter from the United Kingdom. That wasn't nice, was it? My representatives are going to Islamabad, Pakistan. They will be there tomorrow evening for negotiations. Iran recently announced that they were closing the strait, which is strange because our blockade has already closed it, end quote. Let's bring in Julia Manchester from the Hill. Julia, it's always good to see you. Like I mentioned, the president just...
And the reason why that doesn't really make sense for Donald Trump to say that is, well, the reason they're closing it back is because you letting everybody through but them. So if that's the case, then they're just going to make sure nobody can go through. Like, what do you think they were going to do?
Said this a few moments ago. At the heart of the peace deal for the U.S. is getting rid of Iran's nuclear material. I spoke with Alan Ayer. He's a distinguished diplomatic fellow with the Middle East. We're going to go to him in a moment, or that piece. I do want to talk to you about your recent reporting. You noted that Iran's parliament speaker said, quote, media warfare and the engineering of public opinion are now part of this conflict. With that in mind and the back and forth that we're seeing, Julia, how confusing is the situation right now? Of course, this is something you cover. Have you seen the back and forth play out like this, where just in 24 hours, the Strait has opened and closed?
Well, Hannah, it's a lot just to cover it because it seems like there are updates minute by minute, and you're getting two sides of the story from the Iranians as well as the United States. You know, I'll just bring up what happened in the past few minutes. You have President Trump going on Truth Social, accusing Iran of violating the ceasefire in firing at those ships yesterday, and making news saying he's going to send the U.S. delegation to Islamabad, and says they'll get there by Monday night. But that Truth Social post came minutes after Iran's foreign ministry spokesman accused the United States of violating international law by inflicting the blockade on Iran, saying it's a crime against humanity, and talking about how the Iranian people will ultimately suffer because of this. And, you know, you can just go back to last Friday. I mean, you had Iran's foreign minister announcing earlier in the morning on Friday that the Strait was open, President Trump taking that and running with it, oil prices dropping, the stocks rallying. But then, as President Trump was speaking to a crowd in Phoenix, Arizona at a Turning Point USA event, you heard another Iran's parliamentary speaker read that statement that you just read there, and said the Strait was not open for business. So this is really, I think, a lot of posturing, a lot of game playing in these negotiations. But, you know, President Trump confirming within the last few minutes that there will be, you know, seemingly a second round of talks with the delegation, the U.S. delegation, traveling to Islamabad tomorrow.
Julia, with all this happening and the current state of play, meaning for the stability and direction of the U.S. and Iran negotiations, any idea of what's going on behind the scenes? Have you heard anything from your sources?
Well, look, in terms of what's going on behind the scenes, I think everyone's kind of watching to see what the president's doing and what the Iranians are saying publicly. I mean, I think the White House has been very tight-lipped. We understand that there was a Situation Room meeting at the White House yesterday that included General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was seen leaving the White House yesterday. So in terms of military strategy, I think you're seeing the president, you know, make these blanket statements, like telling our colleague Kelly Meyer on Friday night aboard Air Force One that if they didn't reach a deal with the Iranians, the U.S. would start dropping bombs. And now you have the president threatening to take out more Iranian infrastructure. So I think you're seeing these negotiations in many ways play out in real time.
Hey.
There are questions.
Hey, bro, shout out to my man H3I. He said, I haven't watched you in a long time. I stopped watching because you were too pro-Trump. Are you still pro-Trump now? Bro, come on now. You know I ran on anti-war. You know me and anti-war. I don't support this war whatsoever. I don't support Trump popping off this war. And here's the thing. I don't even like how he's trying to defend it. Like, how can you defend something that causing gas prices to rise, causing inflation to rise, and then you're over here making us look like an ass on the world stage, and we haven't even completed any of our goals with Iran? So, bro, trust me. I supported Trump's Make America Great Again agenda, Make America Great Again agenda, putting America first. But this is not putting America first. And I'm going to call it out every time. Even if it's the guy I voted for, I'm going to call it out. If he's not doing what I voted for, I'm not just going to sit there and say, oh, but it's Trump. I'm going to sit there and say, oh, no, I voted for this. I voted for no new wars. I voted for a better economy. And he's kind of walking all that back with this war. So am I still as pro-Trump as I was last year? No, because he's kind of pissing me off with this war. But do I give grace? Yes, I do. So if he can go ahead and drop this war probably within, I ain't gonna lie, by the end of this month, and find a way to fix the economy before midterm so they don't get decimated by the Dems, then sure. But if this goes on for a month all the way into May, it's cooked for Trump. My support for Trump is going to be cooked, and the midterms are going to be cooked. And everybody in MAGA is going to have to sit there and deal with the fact that because you guys went to war with Iran. Now the Dems are going to sweep the midterms, and now you're going to have to deal with open borders, which you guys like to cry about. And trust me, that's a bad thing. You're going to have to deal with the H-1B visas as well. You're going to have to deal with the 9-month abortions and men and women's sports. And I thought like you guys didn't want that. So I would think that you guys would be against this war because you know how politically, bad it is, how politically unfavorable it is. But no, because it's Trump, you guys think you'll get a different result, even though we've done this multiple times in the Middle East with the same result. But for some reason, you guys want to invoke insanity because it's Trump. All right, gotcha. But hey, man, long time no see, H3I.
About the military strategy and all of this. We understand that there is, there's preparation on the United States side, at least. My colleague Philippe Timotia reported yesterday that U.S. Forces in the region are preparing, are set to board ships in the Strait of Hormuz and in that area if directed to by the president. So I think everyone's sort of on a knife's edge right now in terms of what happens next.
You mentioned last Friday where we did see oil prices drop and, of course, gas prices drop as well. How is the White House responding to these prices that we're seeing? Do they expect this trend to continue?
I'll tell you this right now, guys. If you, I laugh every time somebody says, "Oh, I thought you were doing this for money." You think going against MAGA is a financially, honestly, really think about what I'm about to tell you. You think going against MAGA is a financially safe decision? Really think about that. You know how much supporters I lost just going against this war? Shoot, I was losing supporters before the war because I was calling out Trump on the walking back his immigration stance. I was calling out Trump on being a straight up corporatist instead of a populist all of a sudden. I was calling that out before this war. So trust me, it ain't about the money. It's just about my integrity at this point.
Look, I think the White House knows
about
that
the money.
a lot of the gas prices, oil prices right now, in terms of them going up and down, is going to depend on developments within the peace talks.
I'm sorry, but you know how easy it would be just to lie to you guys? I'm talking to you guys, MAGA. You know how easy it would be to lie to you guys and just sap you guys for money right now? It's easy. All I gotta sit there and do is show you a whole bunch of blow up videos from CENTCOM of shit getting blown up, tell y'all America, Trump's the best, and it's easy. Y'all just gonna start sending it in. And I'm sorry, but I just can't do it. I just can't. I won't sit there and lie to you guys just to get y'all money, just to make y'all feel good about a bad idea. Now you can go to these other MAGA channels and they'll be glad to indulge you in that. But me, not here. Not here, guys.
Within the war. That's why I think you see President Trump very strategically making some of these statements that impact the stock market and oil prices. However, taking a further step back, I think there is a greater concern among economists that oil prices may not recover for a very long time because of what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz and what's happening in the region.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get.
Let's get over to here, our guy quiz Cuomo, and make sure to double tap that screen, like the video, guys. And if you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, as you've seen, just like my guy H3I, I'll be happy to engage with it.